Hi, Shane here. You're watching Sam for God, and this is Mark. Check her out.
So hi guys, how are you doing? A few days ago I went to a fringe theatre called the Arcola Theatre to see the new revival of a very famous musical called Carousel, and this is my programme for it. Now believe it or not, I'd never actually seen Carousel before, definitely never on stage, but I'd actually never even seen the film before, so I was completely new to it. I had absolutely no idea what happens in the story, which is a bit shameful, I know, because most people obviously know about it, but yeah, I admit I didn't know anything about it and I went into it not having any expectations because I genuinely didn't know anything about the show. And I was surprised at how by the end of the show I literally felt like I'd gone on a very emotional journey. Now before I say more about the show, I'm going to say that I definitely recommend it. It's a great show and it's a very good production as well. It's a very small scale production, of course, because it's in a fringe theatre and the Arcola Theatre is pretty small. It's my first time there actually, but it's a pretty nice little theatre and it actually somehow works well for this show, weirdly enough. But anyway, I'm going to get more into the show and the cast now. If you are like me and have never seen Carousel before, this show starts off with two girls, two friends, Julie and Carrie, who go to this amusement park thing after work one day, and there's a carousel there, obviously. And one of the guys that works there, called Billy, notices the girls and kind of talks to them a little bit and asks Julie, one of the friends, to meet up with him again. And basically you can kind of tell from the very start that Julie likes this guy and that maybe this guy also likes Julie a bit. So then later on, Julie and Billy do meet up a few times and eventually they do get married. And then you get to pretty much follow their story and what happens to both of them. Now Julie is a very innocent looking, naive character at first when you meet her. She's very sweet, she's very lovable, you just can't help but like her. But as the show goes on, she learns a lot about the world, about the difficulties of the world, and she just grows up into this very complex character who sees things differently to how she did when we first meet her. And Billy, when we first meet him, obviously has a job. Not a very well-paid job, but he still has a job. But without ruining much, he gets fired from that job early on. And then you follow his journey into what he makes of himself, basically. And also you get to see the relationship between these two characters as well, which is a very interesting and complex relationship. Both Julie and Billy, in my opinion, were very real characters, and that's what I loved about the show, I think, in general. All the characters in the show, in a very weird way, are quite relatable and recognisable. Like, you can see things in them that you're like, oh, I can understand that. I might do that myself, or I might know somebody who might do the same thing in that situation. So none of them are perfect characters, which is something that I really liked about the show. They all have their flaws, all these characters, and I really liked that, and all the actors that play these characters showed those very well. But anyway, Carrie, Julie's friend, also has her little storyline thing going on. She also meets a guy throughout the story, and you get to see their relationship as well, which is kind of different to Julie's relationship with Billy. The guy that Carrie ends up marrying, in general, is quite a different guy to Billy is, and that contrast is quite interesting to see within the show. And yeah, I mean, the show in this particular production starts off in 1930, I think, and then in Act 2 we go about 15 years forward to 1945. But I think in like original productions of Carousel, it's set about 50 years before that, so like in 1870 or something. So I think it's the first time they've done something like that. It's the first time they've decided to set it a little bit later and, you know, set it in 1940s instead of like the 1870s. But it worked. I mean, for me it worked. Obviously, as somebody who's seen the show for the first time, I thought it was all very believable. I didn't see anything wrong with it. But yeah, like I said, you do get to see them grow up, these characters, 15 years basically, which is very interesting to see what happens to each of them and stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty much the story. Obviously there's more to it and little things happen, kind of crazy things might happen, sad things might happen. I don't want to give anything away, but yeah, it's a very interesting, heartwarming piece. So the actors, here we've got Gemma Sutton, who plays Julie in the show. Now she was absolutely fantastic. Her voice is just incredible. Some of the notes that she hits were just lovely, and it's just a very lovely voice. The tone of her voice is just really nice. But her acting as well, it was very believable, very heartbreaking at times. It's like you kind of don't want her to learn more about the world, but because like I said, when you first meet her, she's so naive and innocent, and then as she grows up, things happen to her, and you just feel sorry for her, but then you also really admire her because of how she gets on with these things. So yeah, I thought she portrayed her very well, and I really enjoyed the performance. I'd seen Gemma before in quite a few shows as well. I saw her in The Kissing Dance about 4 years ago, and Legally Blonde and Hairspray. She was in The Tour. So she's done quite a lot in recent years, and it was really nice to see her in this as pretty much the lead character. Then we've got Billy, who's this guy, and he was played by an actor called Tim Rogers. I don't think I'd ever seen him in anything before, but I really enjoyed his performance in this. His voice wasn't the best voice I've ever heard, but it was a very good voice. But his acting, more than anything, I think, really grabbed me. He was a very intense actor, and you just really felt sorry for him, even though his character, the character of Billy, is very flawed, like I said, in some ways. He has some annoying, unlikable qualities about him, but you still feel sorry for him. So I I think it's incredible to be able to portray that so well. Obviously, unfortunately, I can't go through the whole list of cast, but I'm going to mention the names of the other couple as well. Vicky Lee Taylor plays Carrie, Julie's best friend. She was outstanding in this part as well. Her voice is beautiful and her acting again was very believable, very convincing, and she's also the same. She's also kind of naive and innocent and sweet at first, but her journey is quite different to the journey that Julie goes on, so she grows up in a very different way to how Julie does, but they still remain best friends throughout the show, and I just thought that was very cute, very sweet. And then of course you've got Joel Montag, who plays Mr. Snow, who's Carrie's love interest. He's the guy who marries Carrie, and he was really good as well. He was pretty funny, he had some kind of funny moments in the show. I really believed his relationship with Carrie, and yeah, he was really good. Now the music in the show is written by Rodgers and Hammerstein, two very famous names, and I was surprised at how many of the songs I actually knew and recognised. Obviously, You'll Never Walk Alone is probably the most famous song from this show. A lot of people actually don't even know that this song is from Carousel, funnily enough. But yeah, You'll Never Walk Alone, the song for Liverpool FC, the football team, is actually from Carousel, and it was performed beautifully in the show, and I think it's sung twice in the show, and it was lovely. It was very heartbreaking, my friends cried, and I felt quite emotional watching it, and yeah, it was lovely. But the whole score for this musical was really nice, I thought. The lyrics were great, the music is great. Yeah, I just loved it. I have to say the band as well. It's a 5-piece band that they used for this particular production. But they sounded incredible, and it was so nice to actually be able to see them on stage because, well, not technically on stage, but the way the Arcola Theatre is set, or it was set for this show anyway, the band were basically visible to the audience because they were like up on this little thing and everybody could see them. And I liked that. I thought it was great to be able to just see them play the instruments live, and at some points during the show I found myself actually watching a band instead of watching, the people on stage, the actors, because it was just beautiful. And the whole team actually, they worked so well together, the actors and the band and everybody in the show. Now the choreography for this show was incredible. It's done by Lee Proud, and I've seen quite a few of Lee Proud's works before, and I've always been impressed by it. He is an incredible choreographer, and the choreography in this show as well was amazing. It's very joyous, it's very fun, it feels like it has a purpose, which some choreography pieces don't, so I like that, especially in the second act. There's like a kind of a long ballet sequence thing. That was done very beautifully, and I didn't get bored or anything, I actually enjoyed watching it. So yeah, I loved it, the choreography was great. The last thing I want to talk about are the sets and the costume design. That was done by Stuart Charlesworth, and it was great. The sets, for what it was, I thought it was amazing. Considering, like I said, the theatre is a very small fringe theatre, it was amazing what they did to make the most of the space that they had available. Like when they were in the fairground, for instance, at the beginning of the show, it felt so magical, it was beautiful, and all the colours that you saw, and it was just lovely. I believed that we were actually in an amusement park. And then as the show goes on, and as the years go on, you can clearly see the change in the costumes that the characters are wearing and just the environment around them. It was just great. I loved it. So yeah, that's pretty much all I'm going to say about the show. It's a fringe show, which means that it's only on for a very limited amount of time. It started previews, I believe, on the 18th of June, like it says here, and it's on at the Arcola Theatre until the 19th of July 2014. So if you did get a chance, go and see this amazing production of Carousel. It's wonderful, and if you've never seen Carousel before, this is the perfect opportunity to go and see it. It's a great cast, a great production, and I thoroughly recommend it. So yeah guys, if you have seen this though, do leave comments below and let me know what you thought of it. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!